At a pub, Sipho asked Themba while pouring a drink for him, said, "Tell me, my friend, is this glass half full or half empty?" Themba drinks the content and then replies, "First of all, Sipho, my friend, tell me, am I half drunk or half sober?" Good evening and welcome to Opportunity Tuesday on Talk with Rams Live. There is one thing I can assure you about this broadcast. We have no half measures here. When Dr. Thando Sibanda is done with you, you will thirst for nothing more. Thank you for choosing us on this 30 minutes of the most powerful digital content this side of the equator. I say that without equivocation. If you don't believe me, you have to believe me. There's no other way. We are live on Facebook, on YouTube as Talk with Rams Live. As you know by now, on Instagram, we are live. However, on that platform, you don't get to see the beautiful face of Dr. T. You can only see me. You can hear him. So the secret is we want you to go to YouTube so that you can see both faces and follow the conversation there. You can reach us via WhatsApp on 067-271-8239. Only voice notes, please. We ask you to participate by sending questions and comments on the Facebook page, on the YouTube page, and you can also do so on Twitter, Talk with Rams 1. We do live tweet the show. We would really appreciate it if you are on Twitter to retweet the live tweets. Non-Tobacco works so hard to follow Dr. T as he races on to capture what he says and put it on Twitter as he says it. It's not an easy job at all. So please humor her, at least humor her by retweeting what she tweets, even if there's a typo or two. No, there are never typos there. Dr. Thando Sibanda, good evening.
Good evening, my brother. How are you, sir?
I'm dark and lovely. Thank you for asking, my brother. How are you?
I am good, man. I'm ready. I really enjoy these sessions that we do together.
Yeah, they're going to get better. You know, with what we're planning from February, they're going to get even more better. Once we are in the room with our friends, our community, it's going to be even much more powerful. And I'm looking forward to that. We're setting up, we're getting ready, and we'll be making announcements next week about how it's going to work from February.
Great things in store, my brother. I can't wait. Can't wait.
Excellent. So, setting attainable goals. I like the word attainable, because damn, don't we set goals that we can't attain? Setting attainable goals. Let's talk about that.
Oh, absolutely. You know, it's the beginning of the year, Rams, and everybody is busy with planning and goal setting, you know, and people think in 12-month blocks. What am I going to do with this year? What things going to look like for me, you know? But the main challenge that I find in society is that we are always setting goals at the beginning of every year. And certainly we abandon them before January is up. So I think tonight it would be great for us to look at what is the problem and how do we overcome it.
You say we abandon them even before January is up, Dr. T.
Oh, absolutely. You know. We've got a bit of a challenge, especially when it comes to planning and when it comes to setting goals. You know, I think you remember the research that I mentioned last week by DHM Research in Portland, Oregon, where they say that only 1/3 of the population, you know, it's true for the US as it is true for the rest of the world. I think certainly here in South Africa, you know, only 1/3 actually plan and write goals down. The others, you know, the other 2/3 of the population don't quite do things properly, you know. And I'm going to get into the context of the fact that we abandon our goals by January. You see, that other group, that other 2/3, that's the one that we need to help. That's the one that we need to shift. You know, I think that's very important.
Is it because we are emotional and maybe even impulsive in our planning, Dr. T?
Oh yes. That's one of the main reasons. In fact, when you look at the other 2/3 that I'm talking about, which is really the majority of our society, it doesn't necessarily, in all fairness, it doesn't necessarily mean that people don't actually plan at all, or they never make an effort to pick up a pen, right? It's just that there is a challenge with their planning process and their planning understanding and their planning execution, so much that the process and the framework at the end is almost as if there was no plan, and the plans are abandoned very quickly. The main thing there, Rams, is the fact that planning for one's life cannot be an emotional action, as what happens, mostly on New Year's Eve. Highly emotionally charged moment, ephemeral, it's temporary, but there's no viable framework about it except the home fuzzy of saying, you know what, I've made it from one difficult year into the next year. So that nice emotional feeling makes you look up and say, well, this year I promise I'm gonna drop some weight. This year I'm gonna buy the Maserati. This year, I'm gonna move out of this and do this and do that. But the challenge with a decision that's made in the emotion of the moment is that come January right now, the year is kicking in, there are bills and hills to be sorted out, reality starts to kick in. The emotion in which we made the plan or the goal departs from us, it leaves us, and so the individual is left exposed. The emotion has gone, and now you are looking at the difficulty of attaining that goal in front of you, but there is no individual buy into the goal because the emotion has gone on which the decision or the goal was based. And so we find that we very quickly abandon our goals. I'm sure you remember that song by Doris Day, from the 1956 movie, by Alfred Hitchcock, the one that says, "Que sera, sera," whatever will be, will be. Yes. The future is not ours to see. So a lot of us get into the "Que sera, sera" mindset, and we get stuck there. And years roll on, and we are stuck in that "Que sera, sera" mindset.
The "Que sera, sera" mindset, Dr. T, sounds so defeatist to me. It sounds as if we're giving up control over what can be achieved to something else. Like it's not in our hands.
Oh yes, absolutely. I remember speaking to one colleague of mine. This was last year. It was in March. I'm like, man, how is it going? He's like, I've written this year off already. I'm going to start again next year. I said, but it's only March. He's like, yeah, it's just better. I've written it off. So that's the "Que sera, sera" mindset. You actually effectively say, whatever will be this year, but I have literally just given up. Again, if you do an assessment of the levels of hope in the nation, and you see that in terms of people's responses on social media, people's responses in terms of some of the systems that are being introduced, you can realize that there's a corporate sense of hopelessness in most people where they are saying, you know what, we just need to survive. Whatever will be, will be. You are right. It is, in a sense, defeatist, but it's also sad because when it comes to planning, that is something that we can do using our heads. So it doesn't even have to be bogged down by circumstances.
So then, Dr. T, what is the importance of mastering the skill of goal setting and goal attainment?
I think there, Rams, it's important for us to understand that the ability to set goals and make plans for their accomplishment is the master skill of success. We need people to understand this. The ability to set goals and make plans for their accomplishment is the master skill of success. There is no other formula to success, that is as viable as the ability to make plans, right? And then to set goals and then create a platform for those goals to be attained. Believe me, it's the single most important skill you can learn and perfect. Goal setting will do more to help you achieve the things you want in life, and for you to live a life you want to, than anything you've been exposed to. If you become an expert in setting goals and achieving them, man, you will be able to live where you want to live, to do the work you want to do, to spend your time the way you want to spend it, simply because you are able to set goals and achieve them. It's setting a goal, making a plan for its attainment, and then working the plan until you succeed in that area.
Okay, Dr. T, when you say it, I find it that, well, that's what we all should do. I mean, we should all have a plan and we should all execute. Why is it that people don't plan? And why is it that we don't set goals that fit, that are harmonious, with what we want to achieve?
Absolutely. I think one of the key challenges there, Rams, is that we need to shift the mindset of our people once and for all before we actually communicate the skills. Because if you can cast a skill or you can teach a skill to a mindset that has not shifted, you have effectively missed an opportunity to help someone. There are 5 reasons why most people don't plan or set goals. I think we need to really get into that and be very clinical so that people can realize, you know what, I need to shift something in my head. You can't get out of the behavior what the mind has not bought into. If I wanted $1 million right now, even if you had it in your bank, it doesn't mean that you are going to give me that money. I can't access your bank account until I've accessed your mindset to say, you know what, investing in Dr. T is a viable thing. So you must always reach the mind before you can get anything out of the behavior. And I think that's very important. Let's help the people today.
Okay, so for today, Dr. T, even if we end up with only these 5 reasons why people don't plan, I'm fine with that. We can then move on to other things as we go forward. It's still early in the year. So, number 1, what is the first reason why we don't plan or set goals?
All right. Let me give you a disclaimer. I'm gonna step on some toes tonight. I hope you are fine with that.
As opposed to when, Dr. T?
Okay, fine. I'm good with it. Let's go for it. Right. Okay. So the first reason, Rams, is what I call low levels of seriousness. A lot of people are simply not serious. And I call this the curse of the 21st century, the casual life approach. A lot of people are not serious about anything. After that person decided to, I'll give you an who produced this amazing song, this dance song. The is it from the Popo? What's it? And I remember reading somewhere where he said, you know what? At his work, there is a track record of somebody who works hard, who is serious about what he does. So this is not somebody who stumbles into success, but this is someone who's very serious about their craft, who's very serious about creating something that can transcend cultural barriers, local barriers. It's someone who's very, very serious about what he's doing. So you find that successful people are very serious about what they do. Their agenda, their routine, they hold that very, very dear, and you can't shake them off it. So until someone becomes completely and totally serious about their goals, nothing can really happen. Remember, your mind must cross what Jeffrey Moore calls the chasm. It must cross that chasm, from just casual approaches into seriousness. And this is a goal. That's what we call a decision. At that moment, you have decided. To decide means to kill off other options. When you decide to say, I'm going to go back to pass this, you already kill off options of about creating something that can transcend cultural barriers, local barriers. It's someone who's very, very serious about what he's doing. So you find that successful people are very serious about what they do. Their agenda, their routine, they hold that very, very dear, and you can't shake them off it. So until someone becomes completely and totally serious about their goals, nothing can really happen. Remember, your mind must cross what Jeffrey Moore calls the chasm. It must cross that chasm, from just casual approaches into seriousness. And this is a goal. That's what we call a decision. At that moment, you have decided. To decide means to kill off other options. When you decide to say, I'm going to go back to school and I'm gonna pass this, you already kill off options of watching the ball game on Monday and doing the PlayStation on Tuesday and then watching movies on Wednesday. You have already killed off everything else. If a lot of our people who are watching us tonight can become serious about their goals and their dreams into 2021 towards the rest of the decade, we're going to have a lot of different outcomes this year.
Okay, so we need to be we need to be very serious about our goals. Okay, good. Reason number 2, why we don't set goals.
Right, is a lack of, and in all fairness, right? In all fairness, I want to speak to our background, especially in our African context. We find that young men and women who begin setting goals very early in life invariably come from families in which importance of goals is emphasized. The discussion that takes place around the family dinner table is one of the most powerful formative influences in anybody's life. For example, if your parents didn't have goals, they didn't talk about goals, it didn't encourage you to set goals, and didn't talk about people outside the family circle who had goals and who were moving towards a higher level of achievement, then very likely you and I grew up with the idea that goals are not even part of normal existence. And this is the case for many people. And of course, a lot of times, for a long time, it was the case for me. Number one, we didn't even have a dinner table to actually sit around,
To start with,
but you find that in a way, goal setting has not been instilled into us from the time that we were kids. And as a result, in our subconscious mind, it's a very, very foreign thing. Now you get to work and they tell you, what are your goals? Now you go for a job interview. What are your goals? What are you talking about? My goal is to meet up with the guys after work, is to have a braai on the weekend. Why are you asking about where my life is going? Let the government worry about that. So we don't have that ingrained in us, and it's mainly a function of the environment in which we grow up. Imagine if right now we start teaching our kids goal setting around the dinner table. We start talking goals and attaining goals and being all that you can be. It's just to get into their psyche. Sooner or later, it will be a part of their behavior.
Wow. So I'm sorry for some guys who are currently known as my children, Dr. T. The next dinner table discussion is about goals. And I need to apologize to people who are viewing us. We are having some network problems and we got cut off at some point, but I think we are going well so far. So let's continue, Dr. T. What is the third reason?
Okay. Right. Reason number 3 is actually goal-setting skill ignorance. The reason why people don't set goals is simply because they don't know how to do it. I gave an example right at the beginning of this program of a scenario where whatever happens on New Year or maybe the first week of January, we say that is goal setting, when that is simply emotional posturing. It's called emotional posturing into 2021, but it's not really goal setting. And here one of the greatest tragedies of our educational system is that someone can receive 15 to 18 years of education in our schools and never once receive a single hour of instruction on how to set goals. I will tell you, I attended pretty good schools, but I was never taught as part of the school curriculum on how to set goals. You see, because the education system was not geared to help me succeed in life. It was geared to assist me to pass exams. Why? Because the measure of how good a school is not to the extent to which it produces contributing citizens. No, it's to the extent to which it produces children who are able to pass with flying colors. How many A's, how many B's. So your school gets rated in terms of the pass marks. And so the teachers and the instructors are so geared towards enabling you to pass the papers. You know, I'm sure you remember towards exams, we were all given past papers for the last 15 years. And you cram the exam papers. You look at all the past questions that have been answered, because the measurable for the school is how many of us are going to score A's. And those schools that produce the A students, you know, are the ones that go to the top of the ladder. But
and we still do it today, Dr. T. We still do it.
Imagine that.
Kids are fighting to be on the front pages of the newspapers because they got 7 A's or 12 A's and they're rated to be the best. Of course, we don't look at them 10 years down the line and who they are then. You know?
That's the thing. That's the thing. It's always important. Look back, even to your high school or to your primary school years. That it doesn't necessarily translate that the guys that were always number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 have gotten far ahead in life. There are a lot of people that I went to school with that didn't even feature on the top 10. But today they are so far ahead, whether it's in academia or in business, you know. So you see that there is something that is a little bit off in terms of how children are taught in schools and how, you know, and the focus of schooling. You will find that in some of those schools, you know, where or in some of those learning environments, let me say it that way, where goal setting and goal achieving is being taught and being focused, you know, maybe even if it's helping the child, you know, if there's a goal of getting their marks up by a certain percentage, you know, or maybe it's having them attain certain goals within their capability. The children even love to go to school. You don't have to run after them like what used to happen to us, where the parents used to carry a big stick to actually walk you to school and leave you at the gate because you ran away. If they turn back up, you know, it's because we never even is taught young age. Men, children will love school, and guess what? We will become goal-setting adults, you know. And I think that's very important.
The challenge, though, Dr. T, and we have agreed that we're going to be a bit hateful tonight, is that who teaches them? Because I doubt that even the people who stand in front of them have their own achievable goals. So it will be difficult to teach children how to have achievable goals.
That's so true. That's so true. You see, now that's the challenge with the system. You see, you can't teach people, or you can't take people to where you haven't been.
Yes.
And so the whole psyche of goal setting, you know, we need a complete engine overhaul. And that is why we struggle even at a legislative level to say, you know what, as a nation, we are going to set these goals and this is what we are going to achieve. It's because we are good at mentioning that. Even in organizations that do a lot of consulting, one of the biggest challenges is that the goals that are written on the wall are not being observed down the hall. The culture of the organization and the goals written, they are totally different. Why? Because it doesn't come natural for us to set goals and then observe the goals. We were never taught that. Our teachers didn't know how to set even their own goals.
So in one of the sessions that I have in my business coaching business, Dr. T, I train small businesses on pricing their product or their service. And most of the time I see people freeze when I get them to price correct, because they have this fear of being rejected on the basis of the price. They get worried that what if I get rejected, and therefore they don't price appropriately. Is that also prevalent in our goal setting, that we have this fear of rejection and therefore we don't plan, we don't set goals because we don't want to be rejected?
That's actually one of the big reasons, Rams. The fear of criticism and the fear of rejection. You know, this is of course, again, this comes from destructive criticism all the way from the time that we grew up. You know, and it is manifested in adulthood, where now we fear criticism by others. A lot of people price incorrectly and go without the reward, even though they put in the sweat, simply because they are afraid of being rejected should they price the true value of what something really costs. And so it becomes a challenge, because then, Rams, we are living life according to sweat and not according to wisdom. Simply because we were taught from the time that, you know, the moment you come up with something valuable, others, they laugh at you. You are told, who are you to dream that big? You know you can't achieve it. Who in your family, you are dreaming of a car? Did your grandfather even have a bicycle? You know? So things like that, they kill our self-esteem. They kill our ability to have the confidence to actually set goals that we can achieve. Because we don't want...
Sorry, Dr. T, should we then keep our goals confidential?
Oh, absolutely.
So that then we avoid this negative feedback that we get from other people.
Yes. There are too many crabs, Rabs. There are too many crabs. You know, I'm working on the book right now called The Crab That Left the Bucket. There are too many crabs that have this pull him down syndrome. That whenever you come up with something amazing. I remember, when I grew up even in school, if you came up with a good idea, the other people would just laugh at you and point at you, and everybody makes fun of you and say, well, who do you think you are to even try and dream that way,
yes.
That big? And that becomes something that gets, ingrained in our psyche. When you've got your goals, don't tell them to anybody. Write them, nurture them, keep them. You can only share them with other eagles. If you find like-minded people who are dreaming at the same level, or who are setting goals at the same level that you are, let that be the safe circle. But don't go around broadcasting your dreams and your goals. Why? Because there are too many naysayers, and they will impact on your ability to do what you want to do.
Okay. Miles Davis, that amazing trumpeter, once said something that I've never forgotten, Dr. T. He once said, if you're going to fail, you must fail big. And I think that one of the reasons that we don't set goals is that we are so scared to fail.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Fear of failure is a major deterrent. And here is the challenge. It's something that's psychological. Fear of failure is in our heads, and that's always the biggest barrier to success, because it holds you back far more than any other psychological problem. Remember, this always comes back to the self-concept, our self-confidence, our own capacity, our understanding of our capacity, our capabilities. Do I second guess myself? Do I believe I've got what it takes to do this? Do I actually believe I can achieve it? And a lot of times, a lot of us don't have that self-confidence. We have a bruised self-concept. And because we have a bruised self-concept, the output of our thinking process that is supposed to give us the drive to attain and achieve our goals is faulty. So we fear to fail. And because we fear to fail, we freeze. Anytime there is a fear of either freeze or we run away. And that's why you've got a lot of take responsibility. Either you freeze or you take flight. That's a problem. We need to work on our own self-belief. We need to work on our fear of failure. Just like you said to me the other day, it is better to finish a bad book than never produce a good one.
I believe in that, Dr. T. You gotta rather finish a bad book than never write a good one. Dr. T, now that we know what hinders us from planning, and now that we've reached this time, what do we do on part 2 next week?
Part 2, we are going to look at the 5 golden rules of goal setting. 5 golden rules of goal setting. And I want to say to the people, remember, we came from creating a mind map for your life last week. And today we have looked at the mindset around setting attainable goals. Next week, we're going to look at the 5 rules of goal setting, so that by the time that we are done with January, everybody, Rams, can go back to the drawing board. This year, we don't want people to celebrate their birthdays. It's just celebrating passage of time and making an excuse for buying a lot of alcohol and eating too much food. This year, we are going to celebrate achievements. Not birthdays. You have nothing to do with your birthday.
It's an accident.
I'm going to get a bit more into that next week. I'll step on more toes next week. We are celebrating goals this year. No celebration of just birthdays.
Before we conclude, Dr. T, Emmanuel is asking, what is the best way to hold oneself accountable to one's goals?
All right. Now, we're going to get a bit more into that next week. But one key thing, right? I said the moment you get into a point of decision, you must have what is called a why. Goals are never a what. Goals are based on a why. Why do you want to do this? Always start with your why. Why should I achieve this goal? How important is it to me? If you can get to a point where you can commit yourself to your why, maybe for somebody is to buy their mother a better home. Maybe for someone is to lift the family out of poverty. Maybe for somebody is to create a better environment for your children. You see, once you've got a compelling why, that why becomes the driving force that holds you accountable, because when you start letting yourself down in your goals, you are letting your why down. You are letting your mother down. You are letting your kids down. You are letting things that you care about so much down whenever you let yourself down. So make sure you've got a strong why. Next week, bring a strong why to the session and we're going to make some progress.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Dr. T. Thank you. What a wonderful session. I can't wait then to work on the strong why next week and find out, as you promised, that we then next week look at the golden rules of goal setting. Now that we know why we set goals, now we're going to look at the rules of setting good goals. And I'm looking forward to that. Dr. Thando Sibanda, have a good evening and thank you very much for tonight.
Thank you so much, man. It was great tonight. I appreciated being here.
And to you folks, sorry about the network connections tonight. We shall fix that. And next week we'll do a bit of catch up on what you may have missed out on as we set up for the next conversation. But do note that these problems will be behind us very soon. As soon as we get into that room together and we do these things differently, we will have these network problems never impacting on what we're trying to achieve. So make sure when you get that email, you register with us, you give us your details, we invite you into this room as we launch in February in a new format of the show where everybody's in the room. Everybody else who's not in the room will get something called a link that they can look at, and they have no chance of interacting with Dr. T. So you choose, you want to be in the room and interact with Dr. T, or be outside and lick your lips. From me, Rams Mabote, good night and God bless.